HI 201. You're welcome to study session 7. Foundationalism. Introduction. In this study session, we will be discussing foundationalism as a theory of justification. It is pertinent to note that the theories of justification include coherentism and contextualism. We will explain these theories as they evolved in the history of epistemology. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Define and use correctly the term foundationalism. 2. Explain infinite regress problem. 3. Present foundationalism as a theory of knowledge. 4. Discuss foundationalism as a theory of justification. 5. Distinguish between classical foundationalism and fallibility foundationalism. What is foundationalism? Foundationalism is a response to the criticism and challenges raised by the skeptics in epistemology. Like we saw in study session 2, the skeptics have doubted the possibility of knowledge and its certainty. For the skeptics, nothing can be known for certain, and we can never attain objective and unbiased knowledge. Foundationalism tries to prove that certain, incorrigible, indubitable, and infallible knowledge is attained only if our knowledge is based on a firm and unshakable foundation. Apart from being an answer to the skeptic, foundationalism attempts to solve the infinite regress problem in epistemology. How did the infinite regress problem arise? Foundationalism reminds us of a building. A building has a foundation, which we normally call the base or substructure, and the superstructure. The foundation or base is what carries the superstructure and keeps the building standing. This analogy also applies to our beliefs. Basic or foundational beliefs are said to have epistemic privileges like infallibility, indubitability, and incorrigibility. Basic beliefs are justified by virtue of their intrinsic value. We should note here that we have two types of beliefs: foundational or basic beliefs and non-foundational beliefs. The non-foundational beliefs are based on foundational beliefs. Foundationalists hold that any knowledge claim must be based on a basic belief, which is the foundation of all other beliefs. Foundationalism is an attempt to find an ultimate justification of knowledge and certainty. Foundationalism is therefore any theory in epistemology, that is, typically theories of justification, but also of knowledge, that holds that beliefs are justified or based on what we call basic beliefs, that is, or commonly called foundational beliefs. Basic beliefs are beliefs that give justificatory support to other beliefs but do not require other beliefs to be justified. This is because they are self-justifying, self-evident, and they enjoy a non-inferential warrant or justification. These beliefs are also infallible. Typically, foundationalists have held that basic beliefs are justified by a. Mental events or states such as experiences that do not constitute beliefs. That is, these are called non-doxastic mental states. Or b. They are simply not the type of things that can be or needs to be justified. Foundationalism and coherentism are rival theories. While foundationalism gives some basic beliefs a privileged position, saying that they are self-justifying and confer justification on other non-foundational beliefs, coherentism holds that all beliefs are justified through their relationship to other beliefs. For the coherentist, all beliefs are justified through coherence with other beliefs. The coherentist does not believe that any belief has a position just that it can confer justification on other beliefs, but that all beliefs should mutually support each other in a coherent belief set. Infinite regress problem in epistemology. From the traditional definition of knowledge, that is, knowledge as justified through belief, it follows not only that there must be a justification for all our beliefs, it follows then that if belief B is justified by belief A must itself be justified. That is, since unjustified belief cannot confer justification on the other beliefs, and belief B can in turn justify belief C must itself be justified, and it can confer justification on belief D, and these can continue ad infinitum. This chain of beliefs deriving justification from other beliefs may continue forever, leading us to an infinite regress. Where then should be the terminating point of our beliefs? Should we allow this regress to continue forever? Let us look at 4 possibilities. First, the series of justified beliefs, each based upon the other, continues infinitely. Secondly, the series of justified beliefs cycle back to its beginning, such that A is based on B, B on C, C on D, and D on A. Thirdly, the series of justified beliefs begin with an unjustified beliefs. And lastly, the series of justified beliefs begins with a belief which is justified, but not by virtue of being based on another justified belief. To solve the infinite regress problem, therefore, foundationalism adopts the 4th possibility, where all our beliefs are based on a justified belief that does not require justification from other beliefs. The terminating point of our belief is our foundational beliefs. Foundationalism as a theory of knowledge. As a theory of knowledge, foundationalism holds that what we claim to know must be based on certain basic beliefs or foundational beliefs which we can know through the senses or through reason. There are 2 varieties of foundationalist theories under this group. They are empiricism and rationalism. Empiricism. Empiricism is that epistemic theory that maintains that sense experience or sensational report are the source and criterion of knowledge. These reports are self-evident and infallible, and therefore worthy of serving as epistemologically basic propositions. On the empiricist account, therefore, foundationalism can be defined as the doctrine that all knowledge rests on a foundation belief that is justified by experience. John Locke, David Hume, and George Berkeley all subscribe to this view. Locke's foundationalist thesis is that all our ideas come from experience. We made a distinction between simple and complex ideas. He rejected the idea of innate ideas, saying that we gain all knowledge through sense experience. George Berkeley held that we get to know things in the world through our senses, esse est percipi, which means to be is to be perceived. Things exist because they are perceived, and they exist as ideas in our minds. The empiricists are only concerned with perceptual knowledge. They have no business with phenomenal knowledge. David Hume made a distinction between idea and impressions. An impression is an immediate sensation of reality, while an idea is a relocation of such an impression. Sense perception as a source of knowledge is central to the position of these three philosophers. Primarily, for them, the sense perception provides the foundational basis of knowledge. Rationalism. Rationalism is the epistemic theory which maintains that reason is the source and criterion of knowledge. Truth of reason are the most important epistemological basic propositions. Descartes, Leibniz, and Spinoza are 17th century rationalists. Descartes believed that our sense could deceive us. He wanted to build a foundation of knowledge strictly on human reason. Through his methodic doubt, he came to know that he exists, popularly known as the cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I exist. The cogito became the foundation of all other beliefs for him. By deduction, he became to know that other things in the world exist. Leibniz, a rationalist, identifies two forms of truth: necessary and contingent truth. The rationalist epistemology of Leibniz, there is the influence of God, relied on the efficacy of God as the source of all reasons. Spinoza believes in the supremacy of reason over sense experience. He holds that there are three degrees of knowledge: knowledge from sense perception, knowledge at the level of reason, which is limited to scientific knowledge, and intuitive knowledge. Knowledge from sense perception, according to him, is not true and indubitable knowledge. Intuitive knowledge is the highest degree of knowledge. They all unanimously agree that reason provides the foundation and basis of knowledge. Foundationalism as a theory of justification. As a theory of justification, foundationalism holds that a belief is epistemologically justified if and only if: 1. It is justified of a basic belief or beliefs. 2. It is justified of a chain of beliefs that is supported by a basic belief or beliefs on which all other beliefs are ultimately based. From this, foundationalism as a theory of justification holds that there is an asymmetrical relationship between any two beliefs. If A is based on B, then B cannot be based on A. Internalism. Internalism holds that justification depends solely on factors internal to believers' mind. According to internalism, the only factor that is relevant to the determination of whether a belief is justified or not is the believer's other mental state. According to internalist foundationalism, for a belief to be immediately justified, the subject must be justifiably believe that it is immediately justified. The question we then need to ask is, what counts as internal to a person? One's internal state could be one's bodily state, one's brain state, or one's mental state. That is, if these are different from brain state, or one's reflective accessible state. Our internal states are either reflectively accessible, that is, accessibilism, state, or mental state, that is, mentalism. Internalist accessibilism has been championed by Roderick Chisholm and Lawrence Bonjour and Matthias Steyp. Steyp holds that the justificatory factor of a belief must be directly recognizable on reflection. This implies that it is both a priori and introspective. It is also deontological and evidential, which could include perpetual introspection, memorial state, and state of rationally comprehending abstract matter such as conceptual, arithmetical, or geometrical connection, and of course beliefs. Wishful thinking also qualifies a justificatory factor. Accessibility internalist claim that the believer has or enjoys a special kind of access to justificatory factor, and these are recognizable on reflection. Mentalist internalist holds that a belief is justified because of factors based on the mental state of that person. Evidentialism is an instance of internalism. It holds that one is justified in believing P if one has evidence regarding P, as this evidence consists of one's mental state. Externalism. Externalism is an alternative to internalism. It generally holds that some factors external to the believers determine whether or not a belief is justified. Reliabilism is a version of externalism. Reliabilism suggests that we consider the source of a belief before it can be justified. Alvin Goldman, Fred Reske, and John Nozick are proponents of reliabilism. In order for a belief to be justified, it must be reliably produced. Alvin Goldman suggested a number of processes which he believes are reliable ones: perception, remembering, good reasoning, and introspection, in contrast with a hunch, wishful thinking, and bad reasoning. It therefore means that a person's belief is justified if and only if A. It is produced by a reliable cognitive process, and B. There is no alternative reliable process that would have caused that person's belief not to be formed. So while the externalists are concerned about reliabilism, the internalists are concerned about evidentialism. Classical foundationalism versus fallibilist foundationalism. The classical foundationalism of René Descartes is in sharp contrast with the fallibilist foundationalism of Roderick Chilsham. Descartes held that the basic or foundational belief is infallible, indubitable, and reliable. Our psychological states are self-evident to us, and they hold that there is no mediator between the knower and what is known. There is no likelihood of error creeping in. The fallibilists argue that man, by nature, is fallible, and to desire an infallible basic proposition from a fallible source is absurd. They contend that there is nowhere that human beings are entirely immune to the possibility of error in his perceptual judgment or experience. What then makes Chilsham a fallibilist and at the same time a foundationalist? Chilsham admits that our set of beliefs rests on or is based on our psychological state, but he denies that such psychological states are infallible. While Descartes was talking about clear and distinct ideas, Chilsham talked about basic propositions, beliefs that are self-evident, self-presenting, and intuitively derived, like Descartes' cogito. Chilsham says that although the self-presenting is known immediately by reflection, it is fallible. Cartesian foundationalism posits that knowledge is absolute, immutable, constant, and irreversible, but Chilsham holds that knowledge is subject to change from time to time. Knowledge is not beyond revision. A person can be said to have knowledge about something if he has true beliefs greater in number than having false beliefs. He talked about epistemic preferability. Critique of foundationalism. One major critique of foundationalism is that it does not solve the infinite regress problem which was originally meant to solve. Looking at the regress problem from the foundationalist approach, it is obvious that the regress will still continue because our foundational belief has to be justified too. Classical foundationalism posits that our basic beliefs are infallible. The main reason for saying this is that they believe that if our basic beliefs is infallible, our whole system of beliefs will be infallible as well, because we infer our non-basic beliefs from our basic beliefs. The fallibilists have greatly attacked foundationalism. They argue that there is no such thing as infallible belief. They say that we are nowhere entirely immune from the possibility of error. Heyer, for instance, explains that even though our sensory states are self-evident and clear to us, error creeps in when we start to describe them in language. Considering man's fallible nature, it is impossible for him to attain an infallible basic belief. Wilfrid Sellars referred to the basic beliefs or foundational beliefs as the given. In his Myth of the Given, he argues that knowledge is part of the logical space of reason and that there is no such thing as a non-inferential justified basic belief. There should be a justification for the so-called foundational beliefs, which foundationalism holds to be self-evident, self-justifying, and non-inferential. Even Richard Rorty criticized foundationalism and the whole of traditional epistemology. He held that there should be no a priori foundation to our beliefs. In his Epistemological Behaviorism, he explains that our beliefs should be justified based on two grounds. First, when they are consistent with other beliefs, that is, conversational justification, and we should choose truth as what is good for us to believe within the scope of our social conditions. Rorty held that our social, cultural, and historical conditions shape our beliefs. It is obvious that foundationalism has not been able to solve the infinite regress problem and justification. Neither has foundationalism been able to give a convincing answer to skepticism. Since foundationalism has failed, there are other alternatives. Coherentism is one alternative. Foundarentism, as proposed by Susan Ark, is another. A theory is a synthetic of foundationalism and coherentism. It admits the relevance of experience to justification of empirical beliefs and allows for a persuasive mutual dependence among beliefs. Contextualism is also another alternative. The theory holds that the validity of a belief depends on the context that generates it. Contextualism generally maintains that whether one knows or not depends on the context. Recently, Quine came up with his naturalized epistemology. He proposed that we should ignore questions about epistemic support and justification, which traditional epistemology is concerned with. Traditional epistemology investigates the causal connection between our sensory evidence and our beliefs about the world. Quine posits that we should concern ourselves with how we go about moving from our sensory data to the formation of our beliefs. And this is within the bounds of psychology. We shall attempt a thorough examination of each of these alternatives in subsequent study session. Study session summary. In this study session, we discussed foundationalism as a theory of knowledge and a theory of justification. We learned not only that foundationalism is a response to the skeptical challenges that knowledge is impossible, but also that foundationalism has not been able to resolve the infinite regress problem. As a result, we examined briefly other alternatives. We have come to the end of study session 7. Thanks for listening.